For as long as most of us can remember, eggs have carried the reputation of being among the most complete and versatile foods known to humankind. They are small, affordable, and widely available, yet within their shell lies a remarkable package of proteins, fats, vitamins, and minerals that support nearly every system in the body. For younger adults, the way eggs are consumed may not matter much beyond convenience or taste. Yet, as the human body ages, subtle changes in digestion, metabolism, and organ function transform what was once an effortless habit into something that can either nourish vitality or silently undermine it. It is, in these years, particularly beyond the age of 60, that the way one approaches such a simple food can make the difference between sustained clarity and creeping fatigue, between steady strength and accelerating decline. It may seem surprising to suggest that eating eggs the wrong way could gradually sap energy, disturb memory, interfere with important medications, or even increase the likelihood of serious illness. After all, eggs are widely promoted as healthful, and for good reason. They contain complete proteins, essential amino acids, choline for the brain, and a range of vitamins that are indispensable for cellular repair and resilience. The mistake lies not in whether they are consumed, but in the circumstances under which they are eaten, the form in which they are prepared, and the timing with which they are combined with other aspects of daily life. These details, often overlooked or dismissed as minor, can profoundly influence how effectively the body makes use of nutrients and how well it maintains its delicate balance in later years. The first misstep occurs when individuals discard the yolk and consume only the whites, often out of concern for cholesterol. This practice, while seemingly cautious, neglects the intricate balance of compounds within the egg itself. Egg whites contain a protein known as avidin, which binds to biotin, a water-soluble vitamin critical for nerve function, energy metabolism, and psychological steadiness. On its own, avidin is harmless, but when consumed without the yolk, it can capture and neutralize the very biotin that older bodies struggle to retain. The result may be subtle at first, a touch of fatigue, tingling in the extremities, or occasional lapses in concentration. Over time, however, the cumulative effect can manifest as persistent low energy, neurological disturbances, and cognitive dullness. The yolk, contrary to its undeserved reputation as a dietary villain, contains precisely the nutrients that counterbalance this effect. It provides biotin itself, choline to reinforce the membranes of brain cells, and omega-3 fatty acids that reduce inflammation throughout the body. Consuming the whole egg allows the avidin in the white to be naturally offset, restoring the equilibrium intended by nature. Moreover, eating eggs in isolation, especially on an empty stomach, places undue strain on the digestive system. When paired with even a modest source of fiber or complex carbohydrate such as a slice of whole grain bread or a small serving of vegetables, the body processes them more gently, smoothing out the release of nutrients and preventing the abrupt fluctuations in energy that often accompany isolated protein intake. Thus, rather than reducing risk, discarding the yolk amplifies it, and rather than fostering health, avoidance of fat in this instance deprives the body of precisely what sustains clarity and vigor. Equally concerning is the choice to consume eggs raw or only partially cooked. For generations, images of athletes downing raw eggs or stories of rustic breakfasts have carried a sense of rugged health, yet the reality, particularly for those in later life, is far less inspiring. Raw eggs pose a significant risk of harboring salmonella, a bacterial infection that can quickly escalate into life-threatening illness when immunity is weakened. While a younger adult may recover from such an infection with relative ease, the same condition in an older person can progress rapidly, causing dehydration, sepsis, and systemic failure. Even if the infection itself does not occur, the danger is not removed. Raw egg whites keep avidin fully active, thereby compounding the risk of biotin deficiency. In addition, uncooked egg proteins are less digestible, meaning the body absorbs less of what it needs while expending more energy in the attempt. Cooking is not merely a matter of safety but of heat denatures proteins into more manageable forms, dissolves avidin and preserves a healthier microbial environment in the gut. Gentle preparation methods such as boiling, steaming, or lightly scrambling offer protection without destroying the delicate nutrients that contribute to mental sharpness and cardiovascular health. It is sometimes argued that cooking diminishes certain vitamins, but in balance, the nutritional gain and safety far outweigh the modest losses. For those who wish to draw the greatest benefit from their meals while avoiding preventable risk, thorough cooking is a non-negotiable principle. Another overlooked complication arises from the interaction between eggs and common medications. By the 7th or 8th decade of life, most individuals take at least one daily prescription, and many manage several, whether for heart disease, cholesterol, blood pressure, thyroid regulation, or anemia. These medications depend on consistent absorption in order to perform effectively. Eggs, however, can quietly interfere. Proteins in the whites can bind to minerals such as iron or zinc, carrying them out of the body before they are absorbed. This means that a carefully timed iron supplement may yield little improvement when consistently followed by an egg-based breakfast. The yolk, rich in vitamin K, provides its own challenge. While beneficial in many respects, vitamin K counteracts the action of certain blood thinners, reducing their efficacy and potentially increasing the risk of clot formation. Likewise, antibiotics that depend on precise absorption can lose strength if consumed too close to protein-rich foods. Thyroid medications, which require an empty stomach for full effect, can be blunted by the premature introduction of any meal, including eggs. The solution is not to avoid eggs, but to respect timing. Allowing a gap of at least 2 hours between medication and egg consumption creates the space needed for drugs to take hold without interference. Such adjustments, though simple, often determine whether treatment succeeds or falters, whether lab values stabilize or drift unpredictably. Timing matters in other ways as well. The body follows circadian rhythms that govern hormone levels, digestion, and metabolic function. Between 6 and 8 in the morning, cortisol naturally rises, preparing the body for wakefulness, but also signaling the liver to produce more cholesterol. Introducing cholesterol-rich foods during this window compounds the effect, driving levels upward and straining the cardiovascular system. For years, conventional wisdom proclaimed that breakfast was the most important meal of the day, urging early consumption to fuel activity. While it remains important to nourish the body in the morning, the precise timing can alter outcomes dramatically for older adults. Eating eggs slightly later in the mid-morning or early afternoon reduces the overlap with cortisol peaks, eases the burden on a digestive system that requires more time to awaken, and prevents unnecessary surges in cholesterol production. This adjustment may appear small, yet its cumulative influence on lipid profiles, energy levels, and digestive comfort is profound. Finally, attention must be paid to the method of cooking. High-temperature frying in oils such as canola or generic vegetable blends introduces a suite of hazards often invisible to the casual observer. When oils are heated beyond their stability point, they break down into aldehydes, acrylamides, and other compounds known to irritate tissues, inflame the digestive tract, and potentially increase long-term disease risk. Older adults, whose stomach linings and enzymatic reserves are already more delicate, may experience nausea, loss of appetite, or chronic digestive discomfort as a result. At the same time, the very nutrients that make eggs so valuable are destroyed under harsh heat. Choline, a guardian of memory and protector against cognitive decline, deteriorates when exposed to high temperatures. Proteins, once easily digested, become denatured to a point that resists absorption, creating bloating and reducing the efficiency of nutrition at a time when every calorie and micronutrient counts. The alternative is neither complex nor unappealing. Boiling, steaming, or soft poaching preserves the integrity of the yolk and white alike. Flavor can be enhanced through herbs, mild spices, or gentle accompaniments rather than scorched oils. Such practices respect the natural composition of the egg, delivering it to the body in a form it can use most completely. Far from depriving the palate, these methods can enrich the sensory experience of a meal, while safeguarding long-term health. When all these considerations are drawn together, a pattern emerges. The egg is not inherently a hazard, nor should it be feared or avoided. Rather, it is a microcosm of how aging transforms nutrition into a more nuanced science. What once seemed inconsequential, the choice of discarding a yolk, the decision to eat immediately after waking, the habit of taking pills with breakfast, or the preference for frying now carries consequences magnified by decades of physiological change. Muscles metabolize differently, nerves require steadier support, and organs function with narrower margins of resilience. Each misstep may appear small in isolation, but together they accumulate, shaping the trajectory of health over months and years. The good news is that these mistakes are easily corrected. Keeping the yolk intact ensures that avidin is neutralized and biotin preserved. Cooking eggs fully prevents infection and enhances absorption. Spacing them a safe distance from medications protects the integrity of treatments. Delaying their consumption until after the early morning cortisol peak balances cholesterol production and digestion. Preparing them gently, without high heat oils, maintains nutrient quality and avoids harmful byproducts. These are not radical prescriptions but thoughtful adjustments, rooted in the recognition that aging bodies deserve greater precision and care. To some, such advice may feel burdensome, as though the joy of eating is being eroded by rules and restrictions. Yet, in truth, the opposite is achieved. By aligning habits with the body's evolving needs, one restores the capacity to savor food without consequence. Energy remains steadier, memory clearer, and digestion more comfortable. The daily act of nourishment becomes a reinforcement of vitality rather than a hidden source of decline. What might appear to be small sacrifices, waiting a little longer in the morning, cooking a little more carefully, pairing eggs with a modest side, ultimately extend the very independence and resilience that make those sacrifices unnecessary in other areas of life. Consider the broader implications of these adjustments. Fatigue in later years is often dismissed as inevitable, yet in many cases it stems from preventable nutritional imbalances. Memory lapses are attributed to aging itself, when in fact they may be exacerbated by overlooked deficiencies. Digestive discomfort is endured as part of the process, though it need not be. Even the perceived need for escalating medication dosages may reflect nothing more than interference at mealtimes. By refining something as common as the way eggs are eaten, one not only corrects a single dietary choice but unlocks a cascade of benefits that ripple through multiple aspects of health. The body in its later decades becomes less forgiving, but it is also highly responsive when given the right support. Nutrient absorption improves with proper timing. Immune resilience strengthens when infections are avoided. Cardiovascular stability returns when cholesterol surges are managed, and mental acuity brightens when choline and biotin are preserved. These improvements do not occur overnight, but neither do they require years. Within weeks of consistent adjustment, energy can return, digestion can settle, and clarity can sharpen. The transformation comes not from a novel drug or a costly supplement, but from the humble decision to respect a food long taken for granted. Eggs remain, as they have always been, a near-perfect food. What changes is the context of the eater. In youth, metabolism masks mistakes, resilience conceals risks, and the margins for error are wide. In maturity, those margins narrow, and each choice matters more. Recognizing this truth is not an admission of weakness but a celebration of the body's continued potential. To live well in later years is not merely to survive, but to thrive, to enjoy the independence of clear thought and steady movement. Such outcomes rest upon countless small decisions, each reinforcing the other. Among them, the treatment of the daily egg is deceptively influential. So tomorrow, when the familiar routine unfolds and the egg is reached for, as it has been 1,000 times before, pause for a moment. Ask whether it will be eaten whole, or in part, raw, or safely cooked, early or later, alone or alongside a light companion, fried in scorching oil, or steamed with care. These choices, though seemingly minor, carry the power to shape the next 10 years of life with as much force as more dramatic interventions. Within that shell lies not only nutrition but also a test of wisdom, whether one will continue as before, or adapt with intention. The answer to that question, repeated day after day, may well determine the course of strength, clarity, and independence for years to come.